Mike, you have to do
Yeah,
your intro.
we're live. I was gonna let it go. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Endless Urgency. We are here. This is our weekly hack versus hunk episode with me and Stefan. The people have come to love it. This week we're joined by a guest, which is Congressman Greg Landsman in the great state of Ohio, and we're going to be talking about a ton of different things today. We're going to tell him about Trump on the roof because he hasn't heard about it yet, which we're really excited to talk about. We're going to talk about him going to divinity school as well. We're going to talk about gerrymandering. Trump talking about a third term again today. We're going to talk about Epstein. We're going to talk about the pledge to rebuild America, which is the congressman's idea that we're excited to talk about. And then we'll probably work in the economy too. Really grateful to have people. Before we get started, please smash the like button for us to help move us up the algorithm for Substack. And then please tell us where you're watching it from so that we can see. And if you have questions for the congressman, drop them in there too. And I will attempt to guide this conversation in a way. But you know that Stefan and I end up on tangents, so that might be a little bit hard when we're here.
This
The
may be their
congressman,
first time, actually. They may
I'm
not
the
know
most
us.
distractible person in the world, so it is almost impossible not to get off on a tangent with me. By the way, just because it's easier for me, just call me Greg. I
Okay.
go by
Yep.
Greg. Okay, yeah.
Perfect. All right. We'll
Yeah.
call you Greg
He's
then.
not a he's not a
Thanks.
regular congressman, okay? He's a
Yeah,
He's got a first
I'm
name.
just
call him
Yeah.
Greg.
Greg. Greg.
I do think
Usually
like
I
there
wait.
is a
Usually I wait
substantive.
until the second live.
There's like a substantive part of this is one, I'm more comfortable with it, but two, I think there's this huge divide between like elected officials and and the rest of us. And I consider myself, because I'm a voter too. And like, how do you close that divide and rebuild that trust, which I think is fundamental. And one of them is like, stop using your title, just say your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
I get
idea
that.
that
I mean, I think like
honorifics,
I'm
yeah.
programmed. I'm sorry. Take it, Stefan.
Well, no, the idea that honorifics get in the way and what you're really trying to do, and this is me and my like master's degree in race and gender. I'm so sorry for the people at home watching. But what you're really trying to do is collapse the distance between you and your constituents by getting rid of the artificial titles of significance and or stature that put you above them. And instead, by collapsing that distance, make for a more equal democracy.
I feel so seen, as they
Greg,
say.
I get you. I see you, Greg.
I
Okay, me
see.
and you.
I feel so seen. I try to explain this in like obviously less sophisticated way than that to everyone. And it's just, but that's exactly right. I'm trying to close the gap.
It
Yeah,
has to start somewhere. Mike, go.
I've been programmed for my like 20 years of Democratic
I know.
politics to just call you by the name and the title and respect the office, and then eventually work my way towards like the five. Like I would never call Adam Schiff, who I've known for 10 years. I would never call him Adam. I would never.
I
It's
call,
always
I call him Adam.
No, he's got a great last name. You call him
Yeah.
Schiff, though.
Schiff. I call him Schiff or Adam. But so I worked with
to him. I'm like,
him. I know. I worked for when I first got into politics. My first job was with Nancy Pelosi, and she's remained a mentor and somebody that like helps me, like figure all this stuff out. And she had come to the district. I'm from Cincinnati. She had come to Cincinnati to do a couple things with me, and we were flying back to DC together. And her staff is in the back of the car in the Suburban, right? That nice little Suburban they get into.
Mhm.
And they said, and I know them both, right? These two staffers. And they're like, Congressman, there's a couple things we wanted to go over. I was like, Greg. And Nancy, Speaker Emeritus, Nancy looked at me and was like, oh, we don't do that.
She said, no. She said, I'm very sorry, no. We have decorum here.
No. I said, no. I said, guys, it's Greg. And she was like, no, we don't do that.
Let's keep in mind how powerful Nancy Pelosi is that we invented a title for her in like what is essentially her congressional retirement, like which is nice.
She's
Speaker
vibing.
Emeritus.
Speaker Emeritus. She's vibing. Leave her alone.
Yeah,
No, I'm
exactly.
not complaining about it. I just
let
like,
her be.
I would never say
so-
anything bad against Nancy Pelosi. Chris.
I would never say
I was-
anything about Nancy Pelosi recorded. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's the goat. She one thing, Stefan, you're in Greenville,
South Carolina.
and I was saying I went to divinity school. I got a master's in theological studies, and my roommate is this wonderful human being, Scott Neely from Greenville. Okay, and Scott is now or was at least the pastor after divinity school. He went back and he was an associate pastor at his dad's church. And anyway, I went and I was in his wedding. So this was like 300 years ago, but I was in Greenville and it was for his wedding. And we hung out all day in the Greenville heat. Okay. and
Mm-hmm.
and then because it was a Southern wedding, like you had the tux, and then you had the gloves,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was too.
It's an old-fashioned Southern wedding. Listen,
Yeah,
first off, you have experienced Greenville, South Carolina at its absolute best moment, which is discount Chattanooga for weddings. If you can't have your bachelorette party or wedding in Tennessee for whatever
you got to
reason,
go to Greenville.
maybe you've got a felony warrant, maybe you just don't like country music. Whatever's happening in Tennessee that does not allow you to have your bachelor party and or wedding there, everybody comes to Greenville, South Carolina. So come on down. I'm glad you visited. It is hot and humid.
So it's hot and humid. So I'm glad you mentioned the humid part, because then we get, after the whole day of being outside in the sun, my body's overheated, and I'm now like it's all locked in. Okay, and we get to the church, and it like rained for like 10 minutes, and all the humidity is just stuck in this church,
Yeah.
and I'm up there, and I was like, and the wedding has started. And I'm on like the second step. You know how sometimes you're
Yeah.
staggered, yeah. And then I was like, I'm gonna faint. I know I'm gonna faint. And so I was like, I'm gonna leave, because
The
I'm gonna
wedding?
go down. And so
The wedding is
I took a step back, because I was like, I'm gonna faint. And because I took a step back when I did faint, which was right in that moment, my whole body weight sort of sent me into the crowd.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I hit the first pew.
no.
And when I came to, they decided to keep the wedding going. So
Of
they
course,
like,
it's
yeah,
expensive.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's a southern wedding. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then a couple of like big dudes just like dragged me out. And then like the wedding was, carried
You're not
on. They
gonna
got
ruin the
married.
wedding, of course.
I'm not going to ruin the wedding. And then the videographer came up, and it was like at the wedding, at the reception. And I was starting to feel normal again. And he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, are you the guy that fainted in the wedding?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I got it all on tape." And I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "It is hilarious."
I want you to know.
I was
Can
like,
I
"Buddy,
get
I think I was out for like 30 seconds." He was
you were
like,
concussed.
it's
Yeah.
very funny.
You have the footage, right? You have the footage, right?
Never got it from him.
Okay, well, first off, step one, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I'm so
That's fine.
glad you made
It's a
it.
funny
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah. I know. I'm just saying that to move to my point number two. Point number two is that's good content, Greg. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to trust me on this. I know we just met in this live, but I know
Yeah.
good content. That's good content.
It's good.
What I would
Thanks.
do
Your
if I were
your
you,
staff will thank us for this advice.
get the footage. And what I would do, if it's not too embarrassing, get the footage. And then I would make it so if people sign up to be a recurring donor to your campaign, they can get the footage. Like if they, like you set it up as a reward premium and it shows you're not taking yourself serious. It's a funny story. If you end up endorsing in 2028 in South Carolina, I would time it to a South Carolina endorsement or something like that. So it's local. I'm
All right,
falling
I'll find
for.
Scott Neely, and I will find his videographer. I love the way he approached me, and he was just like, "I've seen it. It's hilarious." So I will try to find it. Yeah.
All right,
Love.
that's tangent number one. We've promised at least 7 tangents. So now I'm gonna reel this back in for a second so we can tell
Yeah,
you about
Trump's on the roof.
Trump on the roof. Stefan, what did you call it off camera?
I called it Fondler on the Roof. Okay.
Fondler on the roof.
So
By the way, just for those of you who are watching, imagine that you don't know what's happening, because I've been, on Zooms. I have not touched my phone in the last 3 or 4 hours, maybe longer. And somebody says Trump is on the roof. That's all I know at this moment. That's all I know.
So
in a
so here's how I experienced it. It's middle of the day. I'm checking Twitter, and everybody is posting, "Don't jump, don't jump." And
we
I'm
were
like,
on
wait,
very
I'm
different
like,
sides
what?
of Twitter.
I assumed that like somebody climbed the Empire State Building or something, and come to find out that Donald Trump decided to personally tour the improvements or the fixes they're making to the roof of the White House. So he's up there, and reporters are shouting at him, going, "Mr. President, why are you up there? What are you doing?" And he's just standing up there like this, like with his arms like fully outstretched. If you've seen The Office, he looks like Michael Scott looking out into the distance as if he had just seen his poll numbers. Like,
I need you to understand, Greg, the scene here Mike is painting for you is not nearly as dramatic as the moment, because I also came on in the middle of the day. You have to understand, right? We got Texas legislators who are fleeing. The FBI is being called in to investigate. They're maybe taking over DC. There's a lot happening in the news. And then suddenly, all I see is a picture of Donald Trump staring over the side of the White House just
Oh,
on the
he
roof.
did.
Just wandering
That
around.
is a very weird, like stance.
He was up there
It
for a long
it
time,
honestly
Greg.
looks like he's doing an impersonation of Rodney Dangerfield. That's where I landed.
I can't get no respect. I can't get no respect. He's up
I
there
have no respect.
literally.
No
Oh,
respect.
he's
My
just.
wife kicked me out
I'm
last
not
night.
watching the video. He's just
He's
standing there, and he's trying to.
wandering.
He's talking to people. A lot of
He,
gesticulation.
he's shouting down to reporters who are hollering questions up to him in the worst production of Evita I've ever seen as he's up on the roof trying his best to shout down to the people. Why are you on the roof? He's like, I'm getting a new perspective. We're looking. He didn't say perspective. We know Trump's never said the word perspective. My point is just
Can't even spell perspective. Let's be clear
If
about that.
Joe Biden was wandering around in the middle of the day, Mike, you're on your side. I'm
Yeah,
with it.
no,
But
I know. I broke my gimbal in an attempt to show you all what it looked like.
I
so I
saw
was
it.
like,
I just saw the video. Like, but it's true. Like, if any other president, certainly Joe Biden, were to just be roaming around the roof,
Oh yeah, could you imagine?
people would have said like, okay, it's time to sit him down.
he stayed a little too long at the fair, but because it's Donald Trump, and I think we have all forgotten that he is the second oldest president to ever be in office, right? He also is refusing the same sorts of medical transparency that allegedly got Biden in trouble and made us like, we all remember last year, if we were holding President Trump to an ounce of what we were holding President Biden to, there would be congressional inquiries about why is the president's schedule so light he has time to do this? Who is up there with him? The idea that the president of the United States, this is the thing I've said since George Bush's administration, I don't want a president who wants to have a beer with me, right? I want a president who's too busy to have a beer with me, looking for other things. I don't want a president who's got time in the middle of the day to look at construction improvements on the roof of his house, okay?
Well, it's also just like it's all of that, yes, and it's just erratic. It's just like it's chaotic, and it's I've always called him like the chaos machine. Like he's pure chaos, and obviously walking around the roof isn't in and of itself pure chaos, but it's erratic behavior,
Yep.
and you want from your president a normal, very engaged, very tough, a very serious leader who is just getting shit done. Like all day, every day, just crushing. You want that person to retire, to be done with their time as president, completely worn out because they put it all on the field every day on our behalf, right? You don't want them, to your point, Stefan, to have the kind of time where they're just aimlessly walking around, but it's also just erratic. It's part of this larger chaos where, he's on the roof now. Like you want stable, reliable leadership. And
It reminds me
not
of Mike, you'll know this reference more than me, and I don't want to mess it up. Invented horse in a hospital. Who made that joke? Or was it
It's
Mulaney?
It's John Mulaney. It's John
It's
Mulaney.
Mulaney's joke.
It's the horses on the roof. The horse is on the roof now. I didn't know the horse could go on the roof.
Yeah,
He has a better joke about Trump where it's like he's a poor man's idea of a billionaire, which I love that.
That's I do think that's a joke, but I'd argue that the horse in the hospital joke is the better joke. Here's just why: because it works every time, and it's like, or at least maybe it works in this occasion. So like, when Trump's on the roof, this is a better joke. I think they're both great jokes. But if you haven't seen the clip of Mulaney doing, it is like Trump is like a horse loose in a hospital. It's like, and he says like, it's never happened before. It's not like a bird in an airport. This is like a horse that's just loose in a hospital. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, and every day is different. And he said the scariest days, and we don't have these anymore, was like when you don't hear from the horse at all.
Yeah,
right.
Where's the horse at?
Yes, I agree with that. And I would like to take like one full step back on this, just set the stage on what pisses me off about this stuff. Is the shit that comes out of his mouth is unbelievable. This morning he was on CNBC. He claimed his approval rating was 71% with all Americans, which is nuts.
No, it's 38.
38% according to UMass today. And by the way, his approval rating with men is 39% in that poll, which is horrendous. And like men, like again, that'd be like Democrats losing women. That is not what's supposed to happen. So it's like there's a huge issue there.
Sorry, there's nothing tough. There's nothing strong or tough about wandering aimlessly on the roof of the White House.
No.
No, it's
It's just weird.
grandpa. It's time to take Peepaw back home and get him back. Like, there's not enough strength in this. And, I say that when it's time to take Peepaw's car keys, baby.
Yeah.
He can't drive
Yeah.
himself to Church's Chicken anymore. We can get him a DoorDash subscription.
Yeah.
He's a danger to others. Put him in the house, put him on the porch, get him off the roof.
Yep. Well, and
Get him
Greg, I
off
don't
the
know if you
road.
saw this, but like 2 weeks ago, he declared that he had defeated inflation. Like before he left for Scotland, he was in the front yard of the White House going, "I defeated inflation," and I wrote it down. Thanks for the TV ad. I like wrote it down, like, so we're gonna circle that. And it's gonna be in every ad next
I mean,
fall.
technically, he did if you count firing the person whose job it is to tell us how the economy's going. I mean, we can't, he defeated it by, we are not allowed to talk about it. There is no war in Bossing Say.
Right, but they've created this bubble of he's the greatest president of all time. When I was on Fox last night, Jesse Waters introduced me and asked me if I was enjoying the golden age of America right now. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's so deeply out of touch. I mean, I'm in Southwest Ohio, Cincinnati, right? So think Bengals and just
Mhm.
it's the tri-state. So like my district runs up against Indiana. No, not Indiana. I guess there are parts of it that get pretty close. But Kentucky, right? Like this is the middle of the country,
Mhm.
and no one is talking about the golden age of America. That's not language that anyone is using. What people are talking about is how rigged the economy is, how messed up it is, how clearly billionaires and big corporations have it. It's a golden era for them. They wouldn't use that language, but they would
Yep.
say, "Oh well, they're killing it. They're crushing it." And I think the Epstein issue is such an issue and won't go away in part because it's a story of the super wealthy, like the
Mhm.
filthy rich, as the documentary is called, that get to do whatever they want, and that's the America they're seeing. I laid out, and I don't mean to transition to this pledge now, but I do think we need, in addition to fighting back every day and saying all of the things that are problematic and chaotic and unhinged about this moment and this presidency and the folks who are enabling them, we also have to lay out a new governing
Yep.
plan for this country, how we're going to fix the economy, how we're going to make it more affordable, how we're going to unrig the tax code, how we're going to end corporate consolidation and price gouging, how we're going to actually fix immigration and border security and keep people safe,
Yep.
how are we going to fix our democracy and fix politics, how are we going to actually make government work. Like this is an anti-status quo, anti-establishment, plan that I believe the American people will grab onto, especially when 62% of them are dissatisfied, are frustrated,
Yep.
and if you pick an issue, it's between 60 and 70% of Americans who don't like this,
Yep.
right? And so we have to lay out, and I did with this Pledge for America, a new governing document that I think we can all rally around and give the American people something to grab onto. And that is really important in a moment like this where they want to transition away from the chaos, from the guy on the roof,
Mhm.
to, really smart anti-establishment change, fix my life leadership.
well, and Anna just made a good point in the comments here, which is make government work. And I think a big part of the problem, what I hear when I talk to like what I would call my normal friends, whether they're in Chicago or they're somewhere else in the country, people that are not following the news, is they're like, I hate this and this sucks. And they're watching government destroy and they're watching government thieve. And then they're like,
Mhm.
but with us, they're like, all right, well, you guys seem like
What do you
well
got?
meaning. You're nice.
What do you got?
Usually,
Yeah.
what do you got? Like, if they feel like we don't have any ideas and they feel like we don't have any plan to execute them. And so, like, I've read through your plan. I like a lot of it. There's a couple things I'd probably change, but like I like it. And what I like more than anything is you're fucking trying. And
Yeah.
there's so many members of Congress that like don't have a new idea and they're clinging to a package of
Abundance.
policies that either don't work or they're clinging to talking points that are unactionable. And that's
Yeah.
driving me nuts. So walk
Drives me
walk us
crazy.
through it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
give it to us. Like, people are asking in the comments, they want to know like what's in it.
All
Or
right. So
Greg, sorry,
yes.
Greg, if I could also add before you get going, my question before you explain it is if you could give, especially for the people who are joining us a little late, I think we just got a burst of about 55 or 60 people who just literally
Yeah.
came in. I don't know what keywords we had.
Right.
If you could, at the topper, give us a sense of what is the overarching container, yes, Pledge for
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is there an ethos through it? I'm thinking about your divinity school training, right? Like the idea that like you can grab anything in the Bible, but like there is an
Yeah, I
underlying
think it's
theme.
interesting that you went back to divinity school. So I have a master's in theological studies, and like, yeah, it is. It's like it's a degree about that helped me better understand, what people believe in, why they believe in, and how
Mm-hmm.
powerful that can be for good and for bad, right? So, and I have a deep faith and a core set of beliefs that drive the way I live my life, professionally and personally. And I do think that laying out something that people can believe in uh, is a really good way to mobilize folks who are clearly frustrated, get them to a place where they can be, engaged in something productive, something
Yep.
purposeful. And yeah, I do think structure is something I know I need, and I think this moment demands it. Like we need to
I want to
we need to
press
have
you.
more structure. So like this, the bill, or sorry, the Pledge to America is also rooted in sort of my '90s upbringing. Like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
product of the '90s, and you know, in 1994, Republicans were in a similar place to where Democrats are, where they were sort of in the wilderness. And Newt Gingrich laid out a contract for America. It was
Yep.
10 bills, and they were 60-40 bills. Everything was pulled above 60. So these were very popular bills that spoke to the frustrations. Like people wanted a balanced budget. People wanted, this reform. They wanted that reformed. It was all about fixing things that they were frustrated with, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and it worked. It was historic. What happened after that? Now, I also say we need a new entity. Like again, like the Republicans have the Heritage Foundation. We need to have an entity that's leading something like this, so that we can mobilize uh, you know, uh, uh, public will for the long term, so we can actually get it done. And that's going to happen over multiple Congresses, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the bill essentially tackles the things that are top of mind for most of the folks I talk to. How are you going to fix the economy? How are you going to fix government? How are you going to fix politics and our democracy? And how are you going to keep me safe?
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that is, laid out in these bills. One is the most, I'll tell you the most important ones, in my opinion. The one to fix the economy is the most important one, and it's a bill called the Reward Hard Work Not Wealth Act. Right now, the economy, the tax code, regulation, it's all set up to reward wealth, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
over the last 50 years, wealth has won. Like there was 50 billionaires, or I don't know, maybe there weren't any. I can't remember 50 years ago. Now there's, 1,500,
Yeah.
and they're getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. That's because of how the tax code and the system is rigged for that. And so you've got to fix the tax code, make the people at the top pay all their taxes like the rest of us. And that means a wealth tax, and changing the tax rates at the top to reflect what they used to be when we were growing our economy in the middle class, and people were
Mm-hmm.
doing well, and we had access to the American dream, and people could afford all their bills. But it also takes on corporate consolidation and price gouging. It takes our tariff authority back, all of the things that would be necessary to fix the economy, so that you're returning power and wealth back to the vast majority of Americans. And that's when you'll
Mm-hmm.
see an explosion of economic growth.
I
So
think my
that's,
question is,
yeah,
is I also am so rooted in that 90s, like I'm
yeah,
also a 90s person who just like came of age in that moment and remember that moment and immediately saw the contract for America
Is this a
parallels
good
here.
time to admit that I'm a 2000s kid?
yeah. It's all right.
I,
We
I
know.
I mean, I'm very proud of you, happy, and like we know you are because they can't help telling us. And
Yeah,
so, sorry, let us 90s babies talk, okay? Let the
yeah.
grown-ups
Fine,
talk,
fine, fine.
okay?
Just sit
No,
here. I'll
no,
watch
my
the show like the rest of you.
I think my point here is like Elizabeth Warren was getting it yesterday from CNBC, which is part of why Trump was on this morning acting a ruckus. Is the response there?
You
Elizabeth
tweeted
Warren
about
got.
her appearance 8 times on Truth Social. 8.
I love how she gets
Unhinged.
under his skin. It's incredible.
Unhinged.
Unbelievable.
Well, he's got a very busy schedule, apparently. My point here is that one of the things that gets pressed on is you're attacking job creators. I think my question is like, is this a moment in public consciousness where something like your pledge isn't going to end up with Democrats getting hit over the face as anti-business, anti-growth? Like in this moment, is the reason you're putting this forward because you feel at 60-40 or 65-30, like this is the moment to press this forward?
Yeah, and it's like I don't think that people really see that anymore. That's not what we're doing, and so I think people know that. Like what you're saying is like the billionaires and the corporate investors are not the job creators, right? Like these businesses, the companies in my district are job creators. The small businesses, my farmers, like they're job creators. Entrepreneurs are job creators, and they're the ones who have been fucked over for a long time because they the system doesn't reward their hard work, right? And so you have to build a tax code where corporate investors pay all their taxes
Hmm.
and the super wealthy, the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk of the world, they pay all their taxes too. They're still going to create the number of jobs they're creating, but it's nowhere near the number of jobs that small businesses create. Right? It's nowhere
Absolutely.
near the number of jobs that even big businesses create. Like, like they're hoarding all of the wealth at the expense of the job creators. Right? You want to invest in the job creators, and the only way we can do that is if we fix the tax code so that we have money to invest in job creators and in working people, and in
And their
getting rid of
future
our
labor.
yeah,
It's
and yeah,
not
exactly.
Well,
in the future
can
labor
I
thing. Go, Mike.
jump in
Yeah.
there because I think that's especially true because the algorithms and and the AI and the robots and the technology that's going to dominate the next 10
Those
years of
Quakers.
American innovation is going to be owned by like 5 people. And you're going to get locked out. And so the people who are going to create more and more jobs are going to be somebody that's like, I got an idea for a coffee shop. I got an idea for something in my community that I could do. And we need to make sure that those people get a leg up. And Congressman Greg,
Greg.
where I want to push you on a couple of things on this, because I like this and I view this as a really good start. And I wrote down 3 things I want to push you on here,
Okay.
which is one, and you already kind of hinted at this, and I think it's important, but I want to co-opt the issues that Republicans say that they care about and remind people that they don't and tell them about how we're going to solve them. And so when we're pegged
Mhm.
as anti-business, it's bullshit. And I want to go, no, here's our policies to help small
Yeah.
business owners. Here's our
Yeah.
policy. Now we might be skeptical of big business and we're skeptical of billionaires. That's a different thing. But like
Yeah.
they say they want to reduce the deficit. And then what do? They pass a $4 trillion budget. That's going to
Exactly.
increase at the expense of 20 million Americans losing their healthcare, which makes me mad. They
By the
say
way,
they
just
care
real
about
quick,
somebody's and they don't.
these
Please.
the big businesses right now, businesses of all sizes, small, medium, large, they hate these tariffs. They want Congress to take back the tariff authority because it creates such chaos and uncertainty.
Yep.
And they need workers. They need
Mhm.
educated workers, and they need people who can, spend money. That's our plan. You know what I'm saying? Like what's working, what's happening right now does not work for them.
Yep.
No.
It's also this like weird 1-2 punch with the Republicans where there's a huge contingent of them that want to get rid of these like H-1B visas so that we're not importing people from other countries that can code at a high level. But they don't want to invest it all in the United States and making sure that we have people who can code at that level. So
Yeah.
they're just like
Well,
crushing American innovation. We're not pulling anybody in, but we're not going to pull anybody up either. It boggles my mind.
but it boggles the mind only from a place of Greg. I'm so sorry. I'm about to take you here. You don't have to respond. But the
He's going
point
to
here is
start
it
talking
boggles.
about the French Revolution and fucking
You say that
literature.
like that. What I took you there, and it was if you haven't watched the last episode, I did a whole thing on how the French War of the
No, he
Revolution
can't.
led to
I
the.
tried to get him away from it, and then he yelled at me, and then he was absolutely right. So, like,
I took us to a great place. My point. Sorry, I can't believe you're bringing that up here, and I haven't even brought up how you bumped me from Don Lemon that one time. Just like it's fine. Thank you, Greg. That is the
Shots
reaction I want.
fired.
You see,
well, I
you
can
see
bump you
how he
right
does
now
me.
by kicking you off right now, and I can just chat with the
Oh
Congressman.
no.
That's fine. I've got a pack of cigarettes here and a drink waiting for me in my fridge. I will meet you on the other side of
In
this.
some ways, that sounds more fun than what we're doing.
No, I think
Like way more fun.
I told Mike I was going to light a cigarette later if we got real
You put
spicy.
your cigarettes in the fridge?
Only because I have to travel with menthol because California will let me have bubble gum flavored weed, but it will not let me buy
I know
menthol
it's so
flavored cigarettes
stupid. It is
because we
so
have to be.
dumb.
We're caring about the children.
Yeah.
This is
Let
why we
let people
lost.
buy their cigarettes again. You
No,
know?
but the point,
We
the
should
thing I
add
want
that
to
to my
call out about what,
plan.
right? No, first off, it will
When a,
get you
when a
black
lot
voters.
of people aged
You'll win a
25 to
lot.
45 back
There's
on
a
that
lot of
issue.
people. If you can get me back my Camel Crush in California, I'm sorry, this is not the point of this conversation. My actual point here is
Man.
that what
This
is
episode brought
happening
to you
here?
by Marlboro Lights, apparently.
We're not. They're not
Camel.
allowed. We would never. Absolutely. Thank you,
No.
Camel. You get it. You get it. We're
I've
gonna do a.
never, hey, fun Mike Nellis lore for you. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life.
You've never been drunk in a
Don't
smoking
ever do
No,
section at
it.
a club.
I've been drunk.
Hey, listen,
I've
Mike,
been-
don't ever do it. I,
What
I
the fuck?
I was a parliament guy. I was a parliament guy. My wife said to me the other day, she was like, "What do you love?" And we were in the kitchen. I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I love my bed. I love coffee. I love my books. I love my cats. Like I love, I love this. I love that. You don't love anything. Like I was like, I love my kids. She's like, I know, but like outside of that, and I was like, I love smoking.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good and terrible. Do not smoke,
So
please. It is terrible.
I'm a parliament. I actually quit now. I just dip, which is so disgusting. But
Wait, you do Zen,
I,
or are you doing like skull? Like, are you all right? You're old fashioned with the.
I'm a grizzly guy. But yeah, but I was a
I'm going to get
parliament.
you on Joe Rogan if you're going to start talking
No,
about
literally,
chews.
no. He's
We just,
our.
guys, everybody, we found the left's Joe Rogan right
We
here.
found the
Right
left,
here.
like literally dipping on Joe. Anyway, my point here. Sorry,
Mhm.
back to the. I'm gonna go back to you, Mike. The point, Mike, that if people remember where we were, the conversation we were having about how the economic policies, especially with like AI, importing labor, H-1B1 visas, and the idea that they are underinvesting in our education system so that the pipeline up does not exist. I have tweeted about this intensively. This is one of the things that is my passion project: is that pipeline up. I would not be on this live with a congressman and Mike if not for people who paid their taxes between 1987 and 2005. Pell Grant recipient, literally
Yeah.
lived in public housing, free and reduced lunches. You paid for my SATs. You paid for my, like, I would literally not be here. And if the path up had not been created for me to reach all the way down, what we are watching right now happen is not an accident. It is like what Mike is saying. It is the purposeful
Yeah.
pulling up of a
100%.
ladder. It is, and you connect it with the attacks on affirmative action and DEI, you attack and the ways in which that is now weaponized against all people of color and women who have any job that anyone thinks should belong to a man, right? Or you pair that with the H-1B1 visas and getting people out. You pair that with the mass firings in the federal government. Federal government jobs were one of the first jobs that were desegregated by law and in which Black middle class wealth was created. I remember in my family this idea of, girl, just go work at the post office. You can get a good job at the post office, right? The idea that government jobs, especially for people who could not get jobs in other sectors, was the way up. Cutting that ladder and cutting government services at the exact moment states are struggling to support or absorb that hiring. We are seeing at every single level the ways in which poor kids of every color get into the middle and upper class. I am an anomaly that under this administration will not exist in the future. It is about, and this goes back to the point, it does not make economic sense. I'm worth way more now than I was when y'all were spending your tax dollars on me. You will make that money back. It is about making sure we have a landed gentry in this class of people, elites, who are able to afford to go do the thing, get the internship that's unpaid, move to the expensive city to start their job, or get the tutoring to get ahead.
Well, can I jump in on that too? Because I think about that through the lens of my own family's experience. And obviously right now what they're trying to do is they're trying to cut it off for a lot of Black and brown people in this country so that they can't rise. But when my family got here, Irish and Italian, or late 1800s, early 1900s, dirt poor, eating pigeons on the street. I've heard that story at every family event for the last 40 years of my life. But like, what did my grandfather do? He became a postal worker in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And by the way, he was the postmaster general for Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania. And he rose all the way up there and gave my family an opportunity to succeed and pull us up with him. What did my dad go do? Became an FBI agent, served for 34 years and was able to do that, work his way up the ladder. Now today, I've never worked in government. I'm an entrepreneur. I build businesses. I have a life that they couldn't possibly dreamed of. And I have to imagine my great-great-grandfathers and my great-great-grandmothers, when they came over here on the boat, would be bewildered by the life that I have now. And they're cutting that off for other people, particularly Black and brown people. Now, 100 and some years ago, because I'm Italian and Irish, I was lumped in with everybody else, even though I look largely like everyone else. But that's what makes me mad, is how many people don't know their own experience of how they got there, and then they're
They are
cutting it off for other
divorced.
people because they look different than you. They're just
And
divorced
I
from
think that,
reality.
and now, because you have so many people who are struggling to pay all their bills, which
Hmm.
isn't the way people talk about this. They talk about the fact that it's not affordable anymore. Like I can't afford this, is the way
Hmm.
people talk. And so I think the next election will be an affordability election. I
Yeah.
think the election after that will be an affordability election. I think these will be affordability elections until we fix this economy, and you fix it by creating an economy that rewards hard work. So that's why that is the first bill. And
Hmm.
the other bills tackle how we got to build again more housing, infrastructure, broadband. They tackle safety. They tackle immigration reform. They tackle fixing government, so people can believe in it again and people are
Can you
getting good
talk a little bit
services.
more, Greg,
Yeah.
about your fixing government? Because we are in a moment horse in the hospital. How is your pledge getting the horse out of the hospital and then helping heal the trauma of the nurses and doctor staff who have been dealing with the equine problem?
Can I yes and on top of that though, because I also want to push on the second piece of the thing that I wrote down here, which is also finding ways to keep this simple so that people understand it, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of very, very good ideas in the document that
Yeah.
you put together. And I want to get to that point where we can say them and they roll off our tongues as easily as build that wall comes off our
Yeah.
tongue.
Yeah, and I think we work on that together.
Yes.
That's what's going to be fun about the next couple of months, is that we work on how we talk about this together. To me, it's like this is how we fix this,
Yeah.
and this is how we fix the economy. This is how we fix democracy. This is how we fix government. This is how we fix safety. And to be able to talk about each one of these in the most simple way is exactly right. Obviously, I'm not there, and that's what we're going to build together, which is cool. Um, and but the other thing you mentioned was on
Government.
the
Are we
government
fixing it
piece.
with the
Yeah,
horse in the
so
hospital?
there's a bunch of pieces to the Improve the Federal Government Act, but it would require, among other things, an annual independent audit of federal spending, which the GAO does, and it produces a report every year for every agency that lists out all the waste, fraud, and abuse, and the way in which you can improve services. And
Mm.
there's never a vote on it. And so this bill would require an up or down vote on every GAO report, right? Like,
Ooh.
and you can amend it and you can take some stuff out, but it requires the politicians, members of Congress, to actually every year vote on waste, fraud, and abuse for every agency.
Oh, and the votes are mandatory and interesting. What happens if the vote fails? Is there like is I think this
It's an
is
up or down vote, and so like you don't, and
just
knowing Congress and members of Congress, that if you have a binding vote, you're going to figure out how to get it passed, and so you might amend it, to change some things. But like, what
Mhm.
the problem with these GAO reports is, one, this administration is ignoring them completely, and
Yeah.
they're just indiscriminately firing people and eliminating stuff in the name of waste, fraud, and abuse. The bill, or sorry, the GAO report actually lists out waste, fraud, and abuse, but no one ever votes on it. So I think we have to have a binding vote.
A
It's an up or down
mechanism.
vote every year, and then the bill would also include all the anti-corruption stuff. So, you know, uh, like it would, for example, ban members of Congress from trading stock. It, like
No.
all of these things, like it, it
How are they
would.
gonna make their money, Greg? Aren't you thinking about the poor, poor, poor Congress people? You're not
I,
being very inclusive here. How are
these,
they supposed to survive?
I
I
mean, there are
saw.
some of them that are pretty poor, admittedly. Very few of them, but there are a few.
Well, that's because 'cause they're not actually, trading with
Because
the
they're not
information they
crooks.
have.
That's why.
Right,
I
they're
mean,
not
They're not
stealing
poor. They're
appropriately.
not poor. They're relative. They're just not as rich as other members of Congress. Like, yeah, I don't look. If you want to go make a ton of money, don't be a member of Congress.
I think my question to
that's
you
right.
on that no, but that's absolutely the right, and I'm obviously being facetious.
No, no.
I think my question, though, on the corruption stuff is All of that I'm an immediate yes for. All of that to me sounds doable and real. But as someone who's just like a regular person encountering the pledge as I guess our Johnny Everyman in this, my thought is like you were talking earlier about how Americans, you didn't say it like this, but Americans don't have a myth to believe in. And you were talking about how in divinity school, one of the things that that gave you was how meaning is made, how people come to believe in things that perhaps are outside of you can't see it and touch it yet. The idea of a democracy that works for me feels very intangible in this moment.
Yeah.
The idea of the leap of faith required in democracy being somewhat similar between the leap of faith you have to make between you and Christ or you and your savior, et cetera. I think what I'm hearing and wondering is like, where's the myth in this, right? Is the how when we start talking about this, like every policy prescription, it reminds me of abundance in some ways. I'm like, yeah, we should build more houses. It shouldn't be this hard, et cetera. But how do I believe in abundance, right? Like that more for the sake of more reminds me of a cancer cell, right? So that's why I'm kind of over to the side with the Ezra Klein bros. When I hear this, this to me sounds like good governance. It sounds to me like it sounds to me like good policy. Where is your myth in it? Where's the thing I
Yeah, it's a
should, or if I'm missing it?
yeah, and no, it's a good question, and I think, I'd love to get your thoughts or talk about this again maybe in a couple weeks
Mhm.
when I've had some time to think about because I think you're right. It has to have that kind of that pull.
Yeah.
And by the way, the second bill is a build baby build bill, which is all the abundance
Yes.
stuff
Yep.
where we get the country building again. I think the myth here is like it's that when I was growing up, you could have a working class job and achieve the American dream and I don't think that'll ever get tired. Like the American dream is that if you work really hard, you get ahead and you can go do amazing stuff that you want to do, that you chose to do. And that is being not just denied, but ripped away from so many people.
Hmm.
Uh, at the expense, right? Where in order to pay for this rigged economy, like that, where Jeff Bezos can go and spend $50 million on a second wedding, right? Or he can send
Ooh.
Katy Perry into space, right? All that money's coming from somewhere, and so I do think I think it's like reviving the American dream. Like it is making what is now unaffordable affordable again. But I'm not there yet. I don't
Can
think I
I
have it.
offer you? I
Wait,
want
can
to
I?
offer you a
Sorry,
little
can I take
thing.
it? Can I take a
Yeah,
step? And
go.
I'm still waiting patiently.
No, swing at it. Swing at it.
You
Go,
and I
go.
both go and go. But I want to yes and on top of that because there is
Dude.
something at the intersection of what I worry about is okay, we're going to restore this myth of the American dream where you can buy a house, retire with dignity, have a kid, and you can do it for a middle class job. You clock out at 5, leave her to beaver stuff, right? Which is also, by the way, a core myth I think of the Republican experience, except they're more
Yeah.
focused on like we're gonna get rid of all the black and brown people that scare you, which is a big thing on Fox News, right?
Which is also a
Um,
Leave It to Beaver fantasy.
which is also Leave It to Beaver exactly, and frankly a common TV trope. If you like, when you talk about '90s kids, you want to watch Boy Meets World. How many people of color are you seeing Boy Meets World? Not
Oh
a lot.
wow.
So,
Real.
but there's an intersection of a problem here of like restoring that myth and the intersection of what AI is going to do to society and the economy that I feel like is irreconcilable because the foundations of society will be completely different in a world where robots can do things that like we never expected them to do and can wash the dishes and can do complicated math problems. They could do all this. So there needs to be like a reworking of the economy in a way where, and I don't have this fully fleshed out, so I'm giving you half an idea and then hoping you can carry it forward because you're a
Yeah.
congressman and I'm not. But like where it's, hey, you know what? This economy is going to be different, and there's certain skills that you've learned your whole life that are not going to be as important because now the robot can write as well as you, and it can do this. So instead, we're
Hmm.
going to invest in giving more opportunities for you to be in your community, to go
Well,
support other people. We're going to get a generation of people to become TAs and go work in schools to give our kids extra support.
great.
We're
Yeah,
going to create a
exactly.
generation of people to
Yeah.
go work at national parks and keep those parks safe because
Right.
they're understaffed. Stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, 100%. But yes, I think it's appreciating what AI is and computing robots will be able to do and appreciating what they're not going to do.
There we
Like they're
go.
just like I I believe in us, I do, and I believe in our American workers, and I believe in our kids. Like I I also believe and understand AI to the extent that anyone, you know, like me, that's not super smart, or like, when it comes to tech. Like I said to somebody who really gets AI the other day, I was like, am I being naive, or is AI just like next generation computing? And he's like, it's just next generation computing.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've been afraid of this every single time there was, we encounter next generation computing, right? And it's understandable. Like, we should be weary. We should be like, okay, let's sort this out. And Congress should play a bigger role, right? All of us should be, like, I think this should be embedded in the curriculum. Like, kids should be figuring this out. Parents should be figuring this out. However,
I agree.
I just don't think, I think the vast majority of things that we value, we still are going to want people to do. Like, will there be an AI thing next to me helping me do it better? Probably.
Yeah.
But like,
I think my thought here, and I hate to jump to a history thing, I want to start at the point. Mike, I promise I'm gonna circle back around to a point, right? Where we are in this moment, for the people who are watching at home, hi chat. Also, by the way, I want to give a big shout out to Nelly and Arlene, who have been blowing up the chat the entire time. I read every single comment from y'all. Also, Wendy. Wendy's had some bangers in the chat. If you haven't had time, make sure you are following Mike, by the way. He hasn't done his thing yet where he tells you to do the thing. I just want it in the middle. Make sure you're doing the thing and hit the hearts. I don't know where the hearts are in this, but make sure you hit the hearts thing so people find Mike's Substack and the congressman. I mean, Greg, because he's a cool congressman. He's not like other congressmen. His name is Greg. Make sure
that had the same energy of like, please follow my stepdad, Greg.
This is
same
Greg.
energy.
This is Greg. I want you to know that's the vibe. This is Greg. Greg is really nice to my
probably
mom.
give that energy.
I want you to know you're the best. You're the coolest stepdad at the birthday party.
I am. I give.
My point here is that where we
you
are,
always have a pack of cigarettes when we need them.
Listen, he keeps it in the back.
Let America buy their cigarettes again.
Let America have menthols again, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, my point here is where we are is exactly at 1517. We have to keep in mind that the actual thing that the internet has done is the same thing as the printing press, right? So when we are thinking about, and I hate to go this moment, Gutenberg Bible, right? So that's like 1485, 1486 in Germany at that moment.
He's trying to come at me with my divinity stuff.
I want you to know I absolutely.
We're about to get to Reformation.
It's exactly, you know where I'm going. As soon as I said 1517, you know exactly where I'm going. So by the time we get to the
printing press, this is how we got to Reformation. And look what happened. Like,
it was the mass transmission, because talking about collapsing distance. For the people who are playing at home and are just like, what are they talking about and why do they keep saying Reformation? Gutenberg Bible, movable type, 1485, right? So we're in Central Europe.
You could take the Bible home and read it for yourself.
It was an incredible. You didn't have to have it mediated through someone. By the 1500s, we have printing presses set up in northern Italy who are printing the classics. They have found Aristotle. They have refound Plato, and they're pumping them out into the world. At this moment, Europe, especially European elites, are losing control over information. Up until that moment, if you wanted information from the past, it was hopefully somebody told you orally, or it was kept away from you. It was in a monastery being hand typed. It was on vellum. It was not mass available to you. By 1517, when we are nailing 95 Theses to the door, that is virality. Those 95 Theses are being reprinted and distributed across all of Europe in less than 30 years. You are looking at a Europe that is completely transformed. The 30 Years' War, which kicked off in the 1520s, was the bloodiest, was the bloodiest conflict in Europe until World War II. More people died in Poland. It was so bad. It was so bad, the fighting during the 30 Years' War, that the salt from human blood kept crops from growing across Europe because it literally salted the field. That is what we are talking about here. What printing press did was not, yes, it changed jobs, and oh my God, there's a new job. Oh, my old job of copying manuscripts is gone. Yes,
but there was a new kind of freedom. I mean,
there was a new freedom. It was a new information age. It collapsed, and this goes back to my point, Greg. What you were doing with like not using Congressman, right? What happened with the printing press is it collapsed communication. You no longer had to talk directly one-on-one. You could pick up a book and grab an idea from 100 years ago and grab it and carry that ball forward. The internet became widely available to people in like 1991. You could start actually using private services to get on. We are exactly at that moment. in the transformation history that hit the printing press of revolution. The moment here is not about how do we sort of rearrange the decks on the Titanic to make sure everybody's got the right job. The moment right now is how do we build internal and external structures to carry us through what is to come.
By the way, to take a very serious thing and make and transition into I think a somewhat of a joke.
Do it.
If you haven't already watched Subservience, was Subservience the movie with uh shoot, look it up. Will you Google it for me? It's the movie with Megan Fox, and she plays an AI robot.
But no, I'm not up on my Megan Fox since
Yes,
Jennifer's body.
it's called Subservience.
Okay, I want you to watch it. You're gonna have to do it on 2x because it's not the best movie.
Okay.
But it does give you a sense of like, okay, I can see where this is going and how they're going to take our jobs, but I can also see how it ends very badly, and we all want our jobs. They're not going to. It's we have survived every sort of iteration of this
Yeah.
and ended up in a better place, and there's no reason why that won't happen again.
So I'll push back on two levels. The first is that this movie has a 49% on the tomato meter and a 36% rating on the popcorn meter. So I don't think I can recommend people watch this. That's number one.
No, it's not. No, it's not a good movie. It's a
He
very
said
bad
2x.
movie.
Did he say it was okay? All
You
right.
said 2x. Yeah.
He said,
2x.
"Walk
all
it
right.
on 2x, make it go fast." You know.
Yeah.
All right, fine. My apologies.
It was Megan Fox. Let's everybody calm
What
down.
did you think it was going to be?
What?
I don't know. I live
And
and die
no
by the
shade
line.
to Megan Fox. Like, I love Megan Fox,
Shade
but
at
she
Megan
doesn't.
Fox. I love her. She's incredible. She's not an actress.
Yeah, she doesn't like. She's not like she's not putting out like the high quality movies. She's just
There's
doing
such an
movies.
easy transition here into the Sydney Sweeney conversation, but I'm going to stick with AI.
Well, that's all they're talking about these days on Fox News.
That's
Where
all
you
they're
were
talking
last
about. No,
night.
last night on Fox, Jesse Waters asked me if I thought Sydney Sweeney was a Nazi. That was a real question I was asked in prime time last night. I was like, no. And my answer was no. That's a dumb question.
Wait, is she? No, she's not, right? Is she?
No,
Why would you call her a Nazi? Jesse.
Why would you just like completely play dumb
Jesse?
on it? Well,
Yeah.
she's got great genes, you know.
What a silly thing.
Oh, it's so stupid. They found 5 people on the internet and they made a representative of the entire
But what
Democratic
does
Party.
that? But the idea that we can't do similar is, Mike. Explain. You are the communications hack here on.
I do it all the time. I call them weird. I bring up stuff all the time. Last year, when there were those weirdos who were carrying sperm bottles that said JD Vance on it, and they were making fun of people who were infertile. Have you not seen this image?
I forgot about it. No, I forgot about it until just now.
Yeah, I made a big deal about it. Nobody else in the party wanted to go with me. And I was like, I would like to show everyone this version of this tall, skinny, weird, neck-bearded man and go, this is the conservative movement because that's what they look like. And that's what they are.
But that goes back to the exact thing we were having with the Epstein thing, which you and I had talked to ad nauseum. This idea that the Democratic Party has a hard time tackling topics it thinks is quote unquote beneath us, right?
Yeah.
The idea that like it's not couth to talk about in polite society, so nobody should care.
I totally agree with that, and I think Greg, and I think that's exactly right. I do think, and it's I think it's good, as you would both agree, like that, to be thoughtful about what we're talking about, like because we want to be we're thoughtful people. The Epstein stuff was pretty straightforward to me, like immediately. I guess maybe because I had seen Filthy Rich and I'd follow the story, and I knew it was about this billionaire, guy who there were questions about how he got his money. He didn't really work for it. You know what I mean? Like he didn't build anything. He just all of a sudden was a billionaire. And then like the number of kids that he abused, that he assaulted, that he raped is a staggering, allegedly, is a staggering number. And so that is a very relevant thing. Like when somebody gets to that point where they are so wealthy and all of these people, you're talking about high society, all these, the state attorney, other people were sort of in the mix and like protecting this man. Like that's everything I hate.
It's everything Americans hate. It is exactly how people
they
lose
hate
faith.
it. Like that's not who we are. So it's like it's not just a story like of a billionaire president who's covering up something clearly. It's a story of like what obscene wealth can do to people, and what it buys you in this America, and how horribly problematic that is. And like that
Hmm.
has to be fixed. And so yes, it's going to be prescient. It's going to be relevant
Yep.
until we don't have that kind of filthy rich, society that can do whatever it wants. Like America hates that.
I
It
would go I
exerts
would
a
go one
gravitational pull.
I would go one step further than that and say the story is a window into a system that only works for about 1,000 people and their
That's
families.
right.
That's all
50,
that
yeah,
it is.
that's right.
And
Yep.
it's the perfect window into what Donald Trump's presidency represents
But it's
because
also that's his world. That's the window into his
100%.
world. Like I'm not
Yep.
accusing the president of anything. I'm saying that the president literally lived down the road from Jeffrey Epstein. They clearly,
He was at Marla Maples' wedding. They were at the wedding together. He's getting
well,
birthday gifts from him.
He bought
yeah,
his plane for the campaign last year. This is the one
but
that like I want.
he said, he just said the other day, like my falling out with him was that he was stealing he was stealing my girls. Like they're
Virginia, the sex trafficking victims from your spa.
yeah, who literally got picked from her stories that Ghislaine came up to her at Mar-a-Lago and said, "Come with me."
Yep.
I mean,
It
and
is
what
a
happened to her is
staggering.
so awful.
It's,
Yeah,
and by the way, so Donald Trump. So let's assume the best case scenario of how Donald Trump's portrayed that he finds out that these people are being poached, essentially trafficked. He doesn't report them to the police. He doesn't
Yep.
do anything about it. He just stops talking to Jeffrey Epstein, which says a lot about his character. But I want to go back to the Democrats feeling like these conversations aren't couth to have because
Mhm.
it was like I was on the Epstein train that Sunday night because I
Yep.
had watched the documentary and Stefan knows I've been in on this for like years now where I believe this to be one of the most horrible things that we're covering up. And
Yep.
we talked about faith a little bit, but as a Catholic, it took me 20 years to get back to a place where I could trust the Catholic Church on literally anything. After what happened for many, many years, but was uncovered when I was in my teenage years.
Yep.
And it drives me nuts because I will describe the Democratic Party this way, Congressman and Greg, and I'm curious like how you experience it as a member of Congress. The Democratic Party is run by very well-meaning but very cautious lawyers. They sign off on everything. They got to look at every tweet that I write. They got to make sure that every story is like perfectly in
yes,
sync. And we're not allowed to do anything fun or interesting because there is a level of like cocktail party conversation
Yep.
that we're not allowed to do. And so that first like week on Epstein, I felt like I was pulling teeth with a crowbar. And I was like screaming at people on calls going, this is it. This is the moment. Lay into him. And it was
Yep.
like, there were like 4 members of Congress who took it seriously. You were one of them. Ro Khanna was one of the other ones. And I couldn't get my clients to care.
I think
And it was
there's
driving me
two
nuts.
things. One is they need to see somebody do it first, and so
Yep.
you have a bunch of Democrats who are comfortable in their own skin and the way in which they sort of interact with the world, where they can just go out there and not be studied in any way, just simply say what they're thinking, and once they see more and more of us doing that, I think it'll be easier for them, to do the same because it's liberating, right? Like,
Right.
Yep.
when I first started in politics, I was very careful with what I said. And then slowly but surely, I got to a point where I'm still thoughtful. It's just like, I'm going to say what I think. And I'm going to be thoughtful about that, but I'm going to say what I think. Number two is, I feel like, sort of your relationship to the culture really does matter. And I think for far too many Democrats, and this is elected officials in particular, is that they've sort of pulled themselves away from the culture, and
Yep.
so they don't know where the culture is, and it's hard for them to talk in a way that does resonate with people because they're pretty removed from the culture. So like, Trump is somebody who has like lived in this culture, a particular part of culture,
Mhm.
of American culture, mostly white culture. But because of that, he like really does have a good sense as to what matters and what doesn't, and how to talk about things. And I do think
He's a
Democrats.
vibe surfer. His
He's a
ability
vibe
to
surfer,
he
and like, but
understands. Yep.
he's been going to WWE fights since I was a kid,
He's a
right?
Yep. But
WWE Hall of Famer.
He's a
he
Hall
is
of Famer.
He main evented WrestleMania with Vince McMahon in a hair versus hair match. You're
So
talking
like
to like Democratic
he
Party's biggest pro wrestling fan. So
yeah,
Yep.
so like this is, to me, it's like, go do that, but don't just do white culture. Do American culture, and which is amazing. Like,
Mhm.
get into like, like I represent a district that has, a rural Ohio culture, which is so cool. I've
Yep.
got a district that includes, really large Black communities, and it's like the best culture and the coolest
Yep.
shit. And there's some suburban stuff. Like I just went to, the Hindu temples, food festival this weekend. I spent hours there. It was like just being in that culture for a couple
Yep.
hours. Like it was just so much fun. We have to do a better job living in the culture. And I do think that will lead to people who are much easier to relate to.
Yeah.
I think one of
I
the
think
things
that's great.
on that, I think that's correct. I think 2 points. I think one of the things about living in the culture, I will give an inch to elected officials that, like, you all have a lot to do. Your jobs are busy and America's kind of collapsing ish. So maybe you don't have time, or a lot of your colleagues don't have time to be in
But you're
it
gonna
as much
learn
as they
is you're
could.
gonna like a town hall is really important. I do town halls. I go and do tours. I also think like I picked up boxing like 10 years, so like I like to go to fight nights. Like I'm a huge pro wrestler. I grew up on
Yep.
WWE too. Like I love that stuff. Like you still can go to all those things. Like it doesn't, undermine your day job.
Well,
I
I
think
would,
it's not
I,
about
I would
undermining, but yeah.
intentionally, and then we have to wrap this up because you have to get going. I'm getting the text messages telling me to wrap it up. But there's, I've always prided myself culturally as somebody who can like enjoy like a great musical and a great play and cry at a movie and then also go act like an idiot at WrestleMania and
I
go
love
watch a
that.
UFC fight. And I think that I don't look down on the way anybody experiences things. And then I meet these people that are like, oh, pro wrestling's fake, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Do you know that Bryan Cranston also didn't cook meth in his basement? Like, yeah, I suspend my belief when I walk
That
into
you're
the room.
saying,
I know what I'm
Mike,
doing.
you're
I
saying
every
it
time
right
somebody
now.
says pro wrestling is fake, I just want to grab them by the hand and be like, "Come with me, just come with me,
Please,
come
I'm going to
see
give
it
you
for
a choke
yourself.
slam right now, and you tell me if it feels fake or
Come
not.
see it." No, but I mean, like, come see it for yourself. You'll have so much fun. It's dads with their kids. It's mom with their little toddler. Like they're all dressed up. These
It's
kids, they're so
theater.
excited. It's theater.
It's
I
great.
don't,
I mean,
and
my
yeah.
son's favorite wrestler won the Royal Rumble this year, Jey Uso, and I watched it beforehand so that I make sure it's not too violent because he's 6. But I watched it. I was so happy that he won, and then I got to show it to him the next day.
I don't
And
think there's
the
ever
excitement.
blood. Is there?
He was standing. There was
There
no
is
blood.
absolutely sometimes blood. I remember
There's absolutely, but I actually, true story. I went to in Chicago the highest rated episode of
I
Monday
meant
Night
real
Raw.
blood. I meant real blood.
There's sometimes real blood.
Oh, I always thought that
The
was
world
fake
heavyweight
too.
champion got cut open this weekend. His whole face was covered in blood. It was a mess. His name's
Yeah.
Gunther.
I'm slightly attracted to
Um,
that. We'll move that.
all
I'll
right.
Google that later.
I need to wrap this up, but we're going to end it with one quick question, which I want to know from each of you, and I'll answer it too. I want to know your WWE, your Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So, and Stefan, you might have to bullshit your way through it. I don't know how big a wrestling fan you are.
What are you,
I
what
mean,
are
I
you
was
talking
a
about?
Triple H guy. I was a
Yeah.
Triple H
Your
guy.
Mount Rushmore. That's what I meant to say. Your Mount Rushmore.
Uh, Triple H.
Okay.
Mhm.
I accept. You have to put him on there, I think, at this point.
I mean, like obviously Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't want to do that. Okay.
No, you can do Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan. Why am I
It's
forgetting
your
the
Mount
guy with
Rushmore, not mine.
why am I forgetting the guy with the 2x4?
Oh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And then probably oh God, what he's
That's a good one.
A really good one,
what,
Cuts.
what was the dude? Andre the Giant. That's who I was just thinking of.
Oh,
Andre the Giant. But what was his name?
I think
I
don't know
think
what
it
his
was
real
Andre
name
the.
is.
I don't know what his real
Yeah,
name
he had it
is.
because like when he died, it was like we all learned his real name.
I think of him as Fezzik from Princess.
Yeah,
From
but
Princess
he
Bride.
From Princess Bride.
yeah.
All right,
But
Stefan, quick. Give me yours.
I
That's
thought he
mine's
was so
easy.
good.
Mine's easy because this is how I knew I was gay, because you didn't get to see hot men in short shorts in the 90s except for on WWF. It's Shawn Michaels, obviously,
Okay.
that sweet chin music. Duh. Triple H, especially in his X Factor moment, that was like, obviously. I was actually a big Kane fan, not an Undertaker fan. I love
Kane. I just made me uncomfortable. I just like it's.
I like it. He's so
He
uncomfortable.
scared me.
He's scary.
The
And he's
first pro wrestling thing I ever watched was Kane's debut with my dad. So
okay,
I
yeah,
was
I remember that.
fully
I
bought in. I
remember.
thought everything was real.
I want you to know, I was so bought in as a child. And then it's like, wait, that's his brother. They're both tall. And then obviously Mankind. I just like love that is where the theatricality of WWF really came in, because it's like the mask, the puppet. He doesn't look like a traditional wrestler. He's doing
Yeah.
crazy. It's just like that was pure drag. That is drag, RuPaul's Drag Race type wrestling, and loved it.
Have you ever seen Dropout has a show called Smarty Pants where it's after dinner speaking and there's a 10-minute speech about how wrestling is drag. And it's the same thing. And it's perfect. It's so good. All right,
So
mine, and then we'll close it out. But mine, you have to put Triple H on there, both because he was an incredible pro wrestler with a huge pedigree, literally, and also because now he runs the show. And so like his contributions to the business are so huge. I am not much of a Hogan guy, so I will choose Andre the Giant over that, or I would do like Bruno Sammartino. I just like Hogan never did anything for me.
No.
I think you have to put Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'm trying to say, like, I think Stonewall Steve Austin, you got to put on there. So I apologize. The reason Hulk has to be on there is like Hulk did the mic piece better than anyone. Like he invented that sort of get the crowd pumped up, like explain the dynamics of the fight, like explain the context in which you were about to see these characters. Like he did do that.
Was it the Mega Friends or whatever, him and Macho Man Randy Savage when they were best friends? That whole like 18-month storyline is amazing.
Yeah, so good.
And I was like 3 years old when this happened, but like I've seen it play out. And then I think my last spot, I always try to reserve one spot for like a modern wrestler, and I feel like my favorite wrestler right now is Rhea Ripley, who's like was the women's world champion for a while, but she's so good, and she's like pioneering how women can be like the main event stars in the WWE. She's awesome. Greg, Congressman, thank you so much. Can you tell people where to connect with you and find you besides subscribing to your Substack?
I mean, if you just Google Greg Landsman, right? And then on my Substack, the plan is there. And then we did, I do these videos like if you like the videos where somebody does like a explainer, that's what I try to do, is like walk through a bill. And so TikTok, Instagram, I think it's at Rep Greg Landsman in most places.
Yeah.
So at Rep Greg Landsman.
I love these comments here where there are people that are like, I know nothing about WWE, but it's fun and cool to learn from you guys. It's so great. Everyone, please subscribe and go find ways that you can support and follow our stepdad, Greg, the Congressman,
Love Greg.
Ohio 1st Congressional District. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then please follow Stefan. I know he'll tell you that he doesn't want you to follow him on any platform that's wrong. It's the Stefan Smith on Twitter and Threads. He is one of the smartest people that I know. Don't listen to him. And then I'm Mike Nellis. Please subscribe to my Substack if you hadn't. It's called Endless Urgency. It's free for everybody, but if you'd like to become a paid subscriber, it's $8 a month to support this work. Make sure that we can facilitate great combos. But really appreciate everyone. Congressman, thank you again for your time, and thank you for putting out the pledge that you put together. We need more people doing that work right now.
Appreciate you both. This was fun. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.